Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well and feeling well out there this morning and having a great start to your Wednesday. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for today, as we always do, and talk about who could see some storms, maybe some strong to severe storms, who will see some pretty chill weather. There's a cold front that's sagging south across a large portion of the country that will really stabilize the atmosphere, which means no storms, no showers, and a little bit of a break in the heat if you have experienced some warmer weather as of late. But I don't think anybody really in the central eastern U.S. has experienced any kind of crazy warm weather as of yet, which is good, and I don't really see any in the near future. But we're here to talk about the weather for today. Yesterday was pretty active. I would say the enhanced risks certainly verify. We had some nasty weather. We had some big storms all the way from Charlotte. Places like Charlotte got like 3 severe storms. Southwest Virginia, which is kind of the area I storm chased in, was pretty active. I think we'll probably wake up this morning to the National Weather Service survey team. We'll probably end up confirming, I think, at least a few tornadoes in Kentucky. One in the Northeast Tennessee region. I can't pronounce the name. I can't think of the name, honestly, but there was a community in Tennessee that it looked like they had tornado damage based off a person that I follow on Twitter that was really on it as far as the damage. But anyways, regardless, it was quite active yesterday for a lot of areas, and it was a fun chase. Appreciate you guys following along with me. A little extra tired this morning, got home at around 11, but still got some good sleep. But thank y'all for following along and just riding along with my passion with me. It's certainly appreciated. But with that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. I want to quickly mention I haven't been able to acknowledge any of the comments over the last 24 hours. I will have some catching up to do at work today from missing yesterday. You know how that goes. It's always a domino effect when you come in the next day after missing a day. So I'll try to tend to the comments later this afternoon and things like that. So with that being said, let's get rolling. If I'm a little messy in this video, I do apologize. Just a little lack of sleep, but you got a cold front sagging down. It's already cleared the Great Lakes region, portions of the Midwest, portions of the Ohio Valley, and most of the Northeast. I expect some snow showers in areas of Maine today. They will really become widespread here in the coming hours. So, hey, some May snow showers up there in May. I know you guys have probably seen that at some point, but I would say it's still pretty uncommon. A pretty moist air mass still over the south, but there is a boundary that's going to sink southward pretty quickly that'll stabilize the atmosphere, create enough dry air for a large area to not allow any storm development. But south of this boundary, you're going to have storm development down here in the deep south. And that's why you have a marginal risk for convective energy to fire. No slight risk as of now, but you also do have a pretty huge marginal risk right over the plains region, the flat regions of the central U.S., eastern Colorado, even eastern Wyoming, and areas of western Kansas, western Oklahoma, I believe the panhandle of Texas, Nebraska. So we kind of look at what's going on at the surface right now. As you can tell, you see the blue on your map up here. I don't know why it's kind of going out like that, but regardless, there's some blue up here. This is actually where it's cold enough for snow to be falling. And some of these rain showers will switch to snow showers in areas of Maine, but let's just stop this because it glitching out is irritating me here. We got some storms ongoing in Mississippi, some showers in South Carolina, and widespread rains and storms in Montana, even some storms along the Oklahoma, Kansas state line on the western sides of the state. But other than that, it's pretty calm this morning compared to what we've seen the last several mornings, and that's because you got this cold front that's really beginning to, well, it already has, it's draping across this entire region right here. So everybody in this region right in here, the atmosphere is pretty much stabilized, unless you're up here where you just have some showers that's associated with the troughing. But we'll certainly watch down here today where I think you're going to have widespread showers and storms, some of which could be severe down here, and we'll talk more on that in depth here in a second. But the marginal risk is down here. That's a level 1 out of 5. We'll see if this upgrades to a slight risk on the next update or two. But as of now, marginal risk for severe storms. Could have storms, though, north of this. Some of them, those could be strong, too. Then you got the marginal risk right here that is across the central U.S. and the plains, all the way from the northern plains to the southern plains. So please be aware of some strong to severe storms. Guys, I would say damaging winds and hail is the biggest threat. Can't rule out a spin up, especially along any kind of boundaries, but check it out. First time this year I've showed this National Hurricane Center, the outlook, the tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. I gotta get used to saying the National Hurricane Center instead of the Storm Prediction Center, because we're beginning to, we'll be showing both at the same time for a long time, probably for the foreseeable future. So definitely got to make sure I say it right. It's the National Hurricane Center outlook, the latest one. I just want to show this. I'll probably begin to show this almost every video, at least in the mornings. And there's a reason I'm really showing it this morning, is because I'm watching a disturbance over the next 48 hours. When you got these cold fronts that kind of dig off the coast of the southeast, sometimes the energy associated with it can reform a spin, and sometimes you can get a weak tropical system that fires off the coast of the Carolinas. It happens in the Gulf of Mexico too. I'm actually watching something, and we'll talk about that a little bit in this video, and I think we'll go a little bit deeper into it in tonight's video, so stay tuned for that. But no new tropical cyclones are expected during the next 7 days. So we're good. It's May. We wouldn't expect any kind of widespread tropical development. Today in the southeast, I'm only going to zoom into this area and then the Carolinas, because everybody north of this region expect nice weather. If you're a state, if I'm not showing your state on this graphic, it's because we're expecting nice spring weather with no storms. So if you're wondering, hey, why don't you show my state? You're good today. No, you're not going to get any bad weather at all. Pretty chill weather. But we'll go all the way out to about lunchtime. Storm development begins here in northern Mississippi, central and northern Alabama. Could get active very quick. Intense daytime heating will fire off. This is kind of one of those days where the surface heating, surface meaning where you're standing outside, happens very quick, especially just south of the sagging cold front, the boundary. And I think some fuel to the atmosphere will certainly build, some CAPE will certainly build very quickly into this region. You could have some tropical downpours. And central Mississippi to central Alabama, we keep this going. These could cluster up. Could be a pretty active afternoon, especially in Alabama. Anywhere from Birmingham, I think Huntsville. I think I wouldn't guarantee you're in the clear, but I think like areas like Huntsville, Alabama, Florence, Alabama, up into Tennessee, for sure in Tennessee, the air is much stable. It's much drier, so you're not going to get widespread storms. But you head on down to Birmingham, the Montgomery area. These regions down here, you're certainly Tuscaloosa, you're certainly going to get widespread showers and storms. Basically, you have a chance from this area all the way southward into the panhandle of Florida throughout the afternoon. You keep these going. Some areas could see a lot of rain too. Some areas could see a couple inches of rain from this. But some of these storms could be quite intense. It's around 7, 8 p.m. this afternoon, this evening. Down here near Mobile, Gulfport, even getting closer to Baton Rouge, New Orleans, over here to, I'm brain farting here, but basically any communities, these eventually can make their way into Tallahassee. You can tell that I'm a little groggy this morning. But basically from central Alabama points south into the panhandle of Florida, you guys could experience a typical summer type flow out there. Some big time storms will get going probably early in the afternoon. These will kind of attach themselves to one another and become widespread. You could get a lot of rain, but I'd say the biggest threat, large hail, damaging winds. Watch out for some microburst out there. And it could get quite active also in southwest Georgia, really as early as mid-afternoon for this region. Atlanta, you guys could see some storms, but I would say central Georgia to southern Georgia, more active down there. But looking at the Carolinas, I think, if you live in kind of eastern areas of Georgia, southern Georgia, you do stand a chance for some storms. I even think some storms could fire up maybe just south of Greenville today. But once you start to get deeper, further north into the upstate of South Carolina, certainly in North Carolina, more dry air is moving in. Storms will not be able to fire as easily. But, you get south of Columbia into this region, storms could be much more widespread than this. I mean, this is getting into later this evening, 9, 10, 11 p.m. Well, one thing I want to watch here, as this cold front begins to head back north, basically more moist air takes over this region, because this cold front digging in that you see right here, It's very fleeting. It kind of digs in and then it heads on out. The troughing heads on out. Then more ridging builds back in. This is just typical summer type stuff. You're not going to get cool, stable air that stays in place in the south for long. But I would watch later tonight. This is getting after midnight, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. This is when the energy starts to really build back in. Areas like Columbia, central South Carolina has not seen much rain. It seems like the upstate of South Carolina into the Piedmont, North Carolina has seen most of the rain. But I think we wake up to some heavy rain in central South Carolina tomorrow, even all the way to the coastal regions. And this is the energy that I want to watch. That will eventually kind of meander off the coast of South Carolina, North Carolina, and then this will try to develop a spin to it maybe sometime late tomorrow into Friday off the coast of the southeast. We'll watch this, but more, I would say, heavy rain moves in northward into South Carolina later tonight. The Northeast is certainly interesting, guys. Some snow showers are possible in Maine in May. But the rest of the Northeast, pretty chill weather. The only area that's probably going to see some weather is northern Vermont, New Hampshire, far northern Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Canada, and certainly areas of western Maine could certainly get some snow flying around throughout the late morning, early afternoon, and then I think by the time we get into later this evening, it'll diminish. You're wondering, how much snow can we get from this? Well, the National Weather Service is going with hardly nothing. Maybe a trace. Maybe somebody can sneak in a quick coating. But of course, guys, we're getting into late May. The ground temperatures are even warming up here, so nothing's really going to, if it sticks, it'll melt pretty quickly. But don't be surprised to get a coating of snow with some of these snow showers up here. South Central U.S., certainly not as active as the last few days, but I would watch as low pressure is moving in. I would watch a little dry line setting up here, but you could have some storms that could hit severe limits anywhere from the Panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, all the way through western Kansas, eastern Colorado, all the way up into, Nebraska, western Nebraska. These storms could reach severe limits. Some areas could see storms. Some areas might not see a drop of rain. But I would watch this entire region right here for some widely scattered showers and storms right in this region here. They could get kind of active today. Some of these storms could, hit severe limits, strong to severe limits, but I'm not expecting a big day in regards of these storms being significant as far as severe weather by any means. So we move into the north central U.S. Same kind of deal. This corridor of strong to severe storms is possible all the way up into South Dakota. So just watch out for, by the time we get into mid-afternoon, late afternoon, I would say there's a favorite area probably in western Nebraska, maybe southwest South Dakota, even into central South Dakota, that could see some storms later today. And then these will continue throughout the evening and ride a little bit further east into Nebraska and South Dakota, some showers into northwest Minnesota, eastern areas of North Dakota, but by the time you get into overnight tonight, these will lose their severe limits. Everybody else over here, pretty calm weather. You're under the influence of troughing, so stable, dry air, cooler air for sure. Speaking of the temperatures, highs only in the 60s in a lot of the Ohio Valley. The more west and southwest you get, the warmer it gets. You just basically get south of that boundary, and you're dealing with warm air. And you can actually see how this cold front is working. It's digging in like this. More so, you could probably sag this a little bit further southwest here. But this entire area, cold front moving in. The actual frontal boundary is probably actually more so right here. Haven't really looked at the surface observations yet and really seen exactly where that cold front is. But basically, anybody on this side of the line right here, dry, stable air, and the Northeast today just downright miserable for mid to late May standards. Certain areas won't get above freezing in these higher elevations of the mountains. It's probably quite chilly up there this morning. But everybody down here, just it's hard to avoid the summer warmth at this point. So even if the cold front does move through, you're still going to probably get up into the low 80s. But I would say Florida is one of the warmest spots of the country today, with highs in the 80s and 90s for sure. But moving past this, tomorrow there will be a threat of severe weather. Oklahoma, Texas. This could potentially move to a slight risk. We'll see what happens, but we'll watch this. But I would say Friday is the bigger day. You have a slight risk of severe weather for a pretty large area. We'll talk a little bit more on this tonight and probably do it again tomorrow morning. Just a quick reminder, I'm going to Helen, Georgia tomorrow evening, so tomorrow morning will be my last video. I kind of wished it was a way that, especially it just being a chill getaway, I kind of do wish it was a way I can give you guys updates, because I am seeing a couple things that's worth talking about. But at the same time, we all know we all need breaks every once in a while, so I'm going to enjoy it. But there is a slight risk of severe weather, I mean, for the heart of Texas all the way through northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, and I would say 85% of Arkansas is under a slight risk. It does include Memphis, Tennessee, and areas of northwest Mississippi. So damaging winds, large hail is the biggest threat with this, but that could change. We'll see if there's a higher tornado threat. So watching the pattern, this energy this evening into overnight tonight, into tomorrow, this is around tomorrow afternoon. See a low pressure right here? The energy will try to get off the coast of the southeast, and I think it will. It won't try, I think it will. As it does, we'll watch a little bit of a spin here. You know, this is in the middle of the night, Thursday night, getting into Friday morning. So if you zoom into this and what this looks like, you can actually see the spin several thousand feet up. You look at the 850 millibar vort here. It really shows the surface, tries to show closer to the surface winds. Winds about a mile up in the atmosphere, which really indicates where our surface low kind of is. It gives us a better understanding if there is some kind of surface low. So you look here, the energy fires off here. See this little vort max here? Think of this as some higher energy, okay? But if you look at the isobars, if you look at the wind barbs, they are moving in rotation, right? There's a circular motion out here. It's going like this. The winds are coming in from this way, like this. Basically, if you see this spin off the coast of South Carolina, this has a chance to do something tricky off the coast of the southeast over the next 48 hours. So we'll watch this. As you can tell, you got winds right here. Winds coming out the south, winds coming out the southeast, winds coming out the east, winds coming out the northeast, winds coming out the north. So it tells us there's a circulation out here. So we got to watch this. This could develop quickly and then plow right back into the southeast coastline. I don't expect anything. I would say the worst I would expect out of this is just some breezy conditions, maybe some rain bands. But I would watch this. This don't let this catch you off guard is what I'm saying if you're along the Carolina coastline, because things like this happen a lot in May and June. But you get these stalled frontal boundaries, and the leftover energy would get off the coast into the warmer waters of the Atlantic and the Gulf Stream, and sometimes develop very quickly. We'll try to talk about this a little bit more in depth tonight, but definitely watching this. And I could see a pattern like this setting up pretty frequently over the next week or so. In fact, you watch this little piece of energy that moves through, and then we get into late weekend, into early next week, and kind of a similar situation develops. Look at this little spin right here. Okay, now this is way past 7 days, but it's just getting to that it's getting to that time of the year where we see these spins occasionally, and this one plows right into the Carolinas 10 days out. But please do not view that as a forecast or anything like that. But we'll watch these little spins. But that's all I got, guys. Sorry for the messiness of the video. Just a little tired, which is natural. I'm always like this the day after the chase. I love chasing, but it's a routine killer. It definitely gets me off track for about 48 hours. So we'll get it back going today, and I'll be a lot more clear with you guys tonight. God bless all y'all. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll talk to you soon.